Welcome back to Jedi Enclave. I'm Daniel.
I'm Chris.
And we're just two lonely nerds trying to make our way in the universe.
You know, it's hard sometimes, but it's worth it.
Yeah. Well, we've pulled over now, and we're going to get directions and talk about Star Wars. I assume you've heard about this Benioff and Weiss thing.
The Game of Thrones showrunners who are no longer doing a Star Wars trilogy.
I think someone might have killed them by now. Like they've become very unlikable.
You don't cross the House of Mouse.
Yeah, they crossed several things. So this whole thing started with Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
And millions of people watch it. It was a really great show, and admittedly, they did a really good job on it up until the last couple of seasons, and they just had problems sticking the landing.
The last couple seasons were divisive, let's say.
They were definitely divisive. And what wouldn't be divisive is if you're listening now and you would like to give us a like on our video and comment and sub to our channel and tell us about how much you used to like Game of Thrones and now you don't at all, you're probably sitting there wondering, what the fuck are they doing talking about Game of Thrones on a Star Wars show? But I promise you we will get there. So they had trouble sticking the landing. A lot of people didn't like it, myself included. And they disappeared. Right, so they had this appearance at a Comic-Con a couple of days after after they ended the show, and they just were like,
just kind of poofed into the ether.
They're like, we don't know what you're talking about, bye. And we didn't hear from them. And then they were at a film festival in Austin a few days ago.
I believe it was actually the Austin Film Festival.
Yeah, and someone asked. Now there isn't a transcript of any of this. Someone was just live tweeting it, so this is as accurate, I suppose, as a live tweet can be. And they were asking some questions about their process and their general attitude about Game of Thrones. And their answers pissed a lot of people off. So it's just the thing that really got me personally was their general disregard of how they were treating the story and their work ethic.
It struck me, as I imagined, it struck a lot of other people that they didn't know what they were doing.
Right.
They were just kind of making it up as they went along.
Yeah, and it sounds like that they lucked out for the first several seasons until they stopped lucking out.
Well, they ran out of material directly from the books, so they had to actually make their own story.
Right, yeah, which now we know they can't do, or at least, well. So this happened, everyone was really riled up about it, and like the next day, or like couple of days after.
Shortly thereafter.
Yeah. It was announced that the trilogy that they were set to do for Star Wars was not theirs anymore. Mm-hmm. And this has led to rampant speculation about why this happened. So, and this whole Game of Thrones is related to Star Wars on another tangent in that there are some people that aren't super crazy about how the sequel trilogy of Star Wars has been going so far.
Sure, yeah.
So here are a couple of things. I've been thinking about this a little bit, and there are a couple of possibilities about why this happened. So the first and least likely probably was that Disney got wind of this talk that they did and decided to kick them off of it just for that reason.
I don't think that's it.
I don't. There's a lot of me that doesn't think that. However, the other side of that is that I remember that Star Wars so far has had a bad habit of canning writers and directors on Star Wars projects. You might remember that Lord Miller was famously kicked off of Solo: A Star Wars Story after most of the movie had been shot already.
And then they had to reshoot it and basically make a new movie.
Colin Trevorrow was supposed to do Last Jedi, and he was fired from that. There are others, I know, I just can't think of them right now. There are other instances where they had other directors set to go on Star Wars projects. Something happened with Rogue One, too, that was pretty similar, I think. Or they at least decided to reshoot a whole bunch of it.
Yes, there were a lot of reshoots. So I will grant the premise that Disney is extremely serious about quality control. Mm-hmm. I do not think that it was solely on the basis of some comments they made at a film festival that these two guys were kicked out of their trilogy.
Yeah, I mostly agree. I wouldn't agree so much that it's just a quality control thing. I think they have a little bit of trouble trusting the people they hire artistically sometimes. They let Rian Johnson take the risks that he wanted to do, and I'm really surprised that they were okay with that. So another possibility, and this is reported by Hollywood Reporter, they apparently have a couple of sources that suggest that one of the big reasons that they walked away from the project was because of the, how shall I say this politely, toxicity of the Star Wars fan base at times. And now this starts to get, I think that what it probably is a mixture of this plus the next thing we're going to talk about.
I will grant that that's absolutely possible because, not to speak poorly of our audience, but there are certain people in the Star Wars fandom who are very particular about what they want and are extremely vocal when they get something that is not what they want.
Yeah. Which isn't to say that the people who had a different idea of what they wanted, like I like having discussions with people that didn't like Last Jedi as long as they bring pretty good points to the table. Because it's a fun discussion, Yeah. And at the end, we always we're like, oh, we both love Star Wars, so it doesn't matter ultimately anyway.
Yay, lightsabers.
Yeah, but I think what we're talking about are people who aren't necessarily focused on the discourse, but just being dicks.
The type of people who, forced Kelly Marie Tran to close her Twitter and whatnot.
Yeah, they're just horrible people. And I can see this a little bit. Maybe they were a little afraid that they weren't going to deliver on what they were supposed to do.
I can believe that this is a reason they left the project. I don't know that I would believe they said it out loud.
What I read was that it was reported by sources who heard it from them, but it wasn't necessarily, if they would have publicly said it in front of a bunch of people, we would know about it.
Yeah, my thing is that, there's a lot of fandoms that I would not want to piss off if I was a director, producer, writer. Star Wars is definitely one of the big ones.
Yeah, I think it's probably the biggest one because we've learned how vicious certain Star Wars fans can be.
Absolutely.
So this next one I think is probably the most likely, which is, as everyone is well aware, we are quickly switching to a format where we consume our entertainment on streaming services.
Yep.
I have Netflix. Actually, I have Netflix and Amazon Video and Hulu. And
pretty soon you're going to have Disney Plus.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'll definitely have Disney Plus. So what I think happened was Netflix is a little worried about their bottom line and probably flexed a little bit of their contract muscle a little bit to be like, you're not making stuff for Disney. Like, you're not helping our competitors. Or maybe Disney were the ones that maybe asked them to
it's us,
not
it's
do
them or
yeah,
us.
Right. Yeah. So I think someone probably said, you need to not do the other guy's thing.
So I can absolutely believe that this is the reason. The timing strikes me as a little bit weird because, their Netflix contract existed way in the past, and it was reported that they were doing this trilogy a long time ago. So why is it only now that those contracts are coming into conflict?
Was it Netflix that had them first? Because I thought Disney grabbed them for Star Wars pretty soon.
It was... I think the Disney thing happened about a year ago? Maybe a little more?
There was a Netflix thing longer than a year ago? I'll look into it. Maybe I'll put a notation on the video when I edit it.
Yeah, but
I bet it was one of them that was everyone's streaming right now and you can't be working for a competitor.
So the thing is, these two contracts both existed months, if not a year or two before. Why are they only now coming into conflict?
That's why it's kind of weird that it happened after this film festival thing.
The timing is very suspicious.
It could have just been that it kind of greased the wheels a little bit. There might have been the deciding fact that maybe it was something that was going to happen anyway, but they were like, we might as well do this right now.
Could be.
Yeah, it's hard to tell. Anyway, let us know what you think. Let us know if you're Game of Thrones fans, because I am. Chris isn't, but that's just because I haven't made him sit down and watch it yet. Like several other things that I'm going to make you watch.
You maybe watched that one episode where the dude gets his dick cut off.
Oh. Yeah, so put in the comments if you know who we're talking about, because Chris doesn't remember his name, but I think we all do. Like the channel, subscribe. We're on social media at Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and we also have a really cool podcast where you can get a more extended conversation than the one you're hearing now. It's on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Play, and SoundCloud. So check us out there. We'll see you the next time, and always remember.
The ability to speak does not make you intelligent. Now get out of here.